and Kevin from Hudson Valley Vintage. So thank you everybody for joining us. So we started working on this piece tonight. We actually do a live on our own Facebook page at HV Vintage at 6 o'clock, and we started working on this waterfall dresser. One thing about these waterfall dressers, so they're antique, they're from like the 1920s or 30s, and they're great pieces, but they're all basically veneer. And the way that you could tell a piece is veneer is a couple of ways. One is if it's curved anywhere, that pretty much tells you it's a veneer because wood doesn't normally curve.
And they don't cut it either.
And the other way is if you find like a pattern. See this drawer here, how it has this pattern? That's another sign that it's a veneer. But that's not a bad thing. That's fine. These are great pieces. All it means is that underneath it's solid wood, and they did a, what does a veneer mean? Explain.
It's they cut very special wood with a grain pattern with the grain in, we'll call it millimeters thick. They basically they scroll it off of a tree in the direction that they want the grain to show, as you can see in that top drawer. And so then they'll take sections of the veneer, cut it in pieces, glue it on, and in the preferred direction. That's how you get that grain pattern, just the way they are.
So these old dressers are about 100 years old, and
yeah,
a lot of times the veneer has been lifting off.
Because it's a water-based glue.
Or it's chipped, or all kinds of things can happen. This drawer was a real disaster, and we actually took the veneer off completely. But what we did was we used the embossing medium to make a lot of repairs. So we used it in place of a wood putty, and we found it worked really great. The other thing that we did on this dresser is we changed where the holes are for the pulls. So each drawer had 2 pulls on it, and I wanted 1 pull in the center for each drawer. So so what we did on our last video was show you how to fill up those holes and drill new holes in the middle. So sometimes you might have a piece that, let's say, you know, has pulls and you want knobs instead, or maybe, you know, there's all kinds of situations that you might want to move those around. So if you get a chance, I recommend watching that tutorial. If I may say so myself, it's pretty good. All right, so we're doing something really special with this piece. So what we're doing with this is we are making this into a suitcase dresser. So if you've ever looked online and seen like a suitcase dresser, what it looks like is a stack of vintage suitcases. So every drawer is going to be completely different. We even have different pulls for every drawer. I don't know which is which, but you know, they're all going to be different. And we're going to chronicle the whole process. So I already went ahead and painted 1 coat of Shale Stone. So I did that on the sides and the top.
Which I'm going to say is killer.
And it's 1 coat. Now it's kind of dirty right now because Kevin was dusting, was sanding. But if I wanted to get away with 1 coat of paint on a piece, I literally could. Now, I'm painting this to sell it, so I will put another coat on.
I would do too, yeah.
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to get started painting on these drawers. Every drawer is going to be painted differently, and we're going to be doing, by the way, in this process, lots of different techniques. We're going to be doing stripes, we're going to be doing stencils, we're going to be doing glazing, metallics, all kinds of stuff, because we're going to make every one of these drawers look like a suitcase. I know you're probably like saying to yourself right now, what the hell is she talking about?
What is she saying?
She's crazy. But stick with me. Stick with me, kid. We're going to do it. So let's start with the first drawer. So the first drawer, we're going to get our base coat on, and I have like pulled out like tons of colors. Some of them I'm going to be using for details. Some of them I'm going to be painting with. So we're going to get started with the first drawer, and I'm going to paint that in this very soft blue called Sofia. Before I even start putting the paint on, I just want to show you, I've pulled out a bunch of brushes tonight because I'm obviously painting with 4 different colors. And my brushes are all synthetic. I'm using the zipper brushes, and I've got a couple of blue ice brushes as well. Many Paint Couture retailers sell these, and I like them because they're synthetic and they are really well priced. Both of those things are very important, especially the synthetic part. You always want to use synthetic. It opened.
Is it new?
No.
Oh, shocking.
You always want to use a synthetic brush for a couple of reasons. The main reason is you'll get a much smoother finish with a synthetic brush, but also natural bristles tend to break off in the paint. Okay. So I'm hoping that we have enough time to get 2 coats of paint on tonight.
And you told me I don't have to dry them because they're going to dry, so.
Yeah. I like to get this little part painted and just this little edge on the side.
Yeah, not paint the dovetails because it's nice to see the dovetails.
Yeah, I don't paint the dovetails. So I'm using the smaller brush to do that. We did have to make some repairs because these old waterfall pieces tend to have damage. Now, I sometimes paint the insides of my drawers, I sometimes don't. I'm going to evaluate that later. Painting a larger surface like this, like the top of a drawer or a table or desk or dresser, I just want to give you a couple tips. I figured this piece is a good opportunity to give you some tips on how to get a nice smooth finish, because that's pretty much what everybody's going for. I'm using a flat brush, and you always want to make sure you're using the sides of the brush. So the second drawer I'm going to do so we're going to go with Candlelight. And again, every drawer is going to be finished completely different. I like to work in sections. I don't want to use so much paint that it's like dripping or too thick, because thin coats are always more stable than thick coats.
And you want them to dry.
Yep, and I like to have one nice long brush stroke as I finish each section. But like I said before, if you are a fan of the roller, by all means, roll this stuff on. This particular drawer, we took the veneer off completely, and it's nice solid wood underneath. So you want to check your edges, make sure you don't have any drips, and if you do, clean them up, because you don't want a dried drip of paint on there. That's a pain. Alright, let me move this out of the way. So this drawer I want to make look like leather. So I'm thinking I'm going to paint this color, which is modern rattan. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see if I can open this one now. Oh my god, I am bad.
3 for 3?
3 for 3. This is extraordinary.
It's going to come to a grinding halt eventually.
And this embossing this embossing medium that we used to make those repairs, once I paint over it, you can't tell where the wood is and where the embossing medium is. However, you're not going to stain over it. That's not something that you can do. Okay, so my last drawer, I'm gonna paint in, I was trying to think of a color. I wanted to do one of the drawers green, and I was trying to think of a color that would really be like a cool vintage green. Guac and roll. Guac and roll. Isn't that a perfect color? Okay. So again, I'm gonna go on the edges and paint those first. The reason I do this is if you paint the drawer first and then go to do this after, you tend to ruin the edges. See how I'm getting paint on the edges there, on the top? And I like a nice smooth finish, so. But you know, these are just tips, do whatever works for you. Now, here's another question I get all the time. So I only have to put one coat of paint on, right? Well, here's the honest answer.
I doubt it.
Hell if I know. I mean, I know that sounds like a terrible answer, but the truth is, it depends on what your surface is. Depends on the color you're using, depends on how you paint it. There are so many variables. There are so many variables with your, you know, with how many coats of paint you're gonna need. Most likely 2 coats, sometimes even 3. But, you know, there is no way for me for anybody really. If anybody tells you guaranteed 1 coat of paint, that's all you need, that's not true. And again, it depends on the look you want and the coverage you want. For this project, it doesn't have to be perfect because I am going for an old look. I'm going to make these drawers look like vintage suitcases, but I want a smooth look. So, as I said, I like to work in sections. When I have a long, flat surface, and before I go to the next section or finish, I do one long stroke. Now, I'm not going back to the beginning and doing that at the beginning because this is getting tacky already, starting to dry, and I'm going to create marks, which I don't want.
Oh, that guarantees brush strokes.
Yeah.
If you pull a brush through tacky paint, it won't flow out, and it's just gonna, you know.
And all right, I'll talk about what we're doing with these drawers. So each drawer is going to be a suitcase. I don't know if they can hear me. Each drawer is a suitcase, and I actually have a pretty distinct plan for each drawer. Each drawer is going to have different hardware, different pull, and I will tell you my second drawer is going to be a herringbone pattern. I'm going to use a stencil to, remember like those old herringbone pattern suitcases? The third one down is going to be the leather looking one, and I'm thinking about having like a travel stamp on it, like somebody's been to a certain place. The last one is the one I'm painting right now, which is the guac and roll. We're going to be having some stripes on these, lots of glaze for an antique look, and it's going to be really fun. I also ordered some clasps, so you know how suitcases have usually the handle in the middle and then clasps on the sides. That's, you know, we're going for all that stuff, so it's going to be very cool. So this is the last drawer. Okay, so I think that's good. That looks really good. That's my second coat. I'm gonna go ahead and make the prediction that all 4 of these drawers are perfect after 2 coats. I think 2 coats are perfect. Plus, we're gonna be adding glazes and things like that, so I think it's probably fine.
For the signal to bounce up.
We're gonna be continuing this project. As I said, this is going to be, or it will be, a vintage suitcase dresser. All 4 drawers are going to be a different looking suitcase, completely different from one another. If these colors go together, it's just by like dumb luck, because I picked each color based on what I want to do to each drawer. So it's going to be fun, and I hope you follow along with us. If you don't watch on Friday morning, I will share it on the Paint Couture showcase page so that you can see it. And I think that's about it. Right, honey?
Yep, time to wash brushes.
Time to wash the brushes. That's right. So thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to share this on your own page if you'd like, if you want to show this to anybody. Post any questions in the comments if you're watching the replay, or think of something later. And we'll see you soon. We're here every Wednesday night at 7:30. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Good night. I'm going to wash brushes.